Hello.
Hey.
Uh, Laura, I'm just wondering, coming off of the team's last game, what is the kind of vibe been in training and what has training felt like after getting that comeback draw?
Yeah, I think, we had some really good honest conversations about we were happy that of the fact that we were able to show that resiliency, grit, mentality, but I think we all know that we have that in this group. I think the question we've been asking ourselves is how can we try and put ourselves in a position where we can perform at the level that we did in the second half without having that adversity before it happens. So that's been a big key for us this week. How do we put ourselves in a position where we start games like we're playing the last 5 minutes? I think that's been the big source of conversation. And as ever, the group's been responsive and really tried to push. We've had a good week of training. So yeah, we're excited to get out to Utah and see what we can do.
Excuse me. Good morning. Laura, I wanted to ask about Maddie. Maddie, she seems that she appears on the field to be like she immediately felt comfortable at the on this level. Is that kind of the way that you've seen her kind of adapt quickly? Yeah, I just kind of wanted to know like a little bit about how she made the transition to college figure.
Yeah, I think her transition's been pretty seamless, to be honest. I think she worked really hard in the off season to get physically prepared. I think she recognized that that was something she needed to do to be able to play at this level consistently, and she's done that. I think the break will be good for her, just having a bit of a breather. I think for all players that come out of college, they've always just been trained to be able to be ready for performance. And we obviously are much longer season than that. So I think she hit the ground running. I think she's been excellent. Her performances have been pretty consistent throughout. She's been a threat in pretty much every game we've played that she's played in. And we're really happy with her.
And then my favorite question, not really favorite, but just want to get updates on health with the players. Are you expecting anyone to be back now or not available?
The players that aren't available are the three players that are going to the Euros. We actually let them go after Chicago. Excuse me. Jesus. We let them go after Chicago, um, so that they could go and prepare. Obviously, Anna being in the home nation, big, huge opportunity for her and her country. And obviously for Jess and Haz, the first time Wales have ever made a major tournament. We agreed at the start of the season that we would want to give them that opportunity to be able to, when their country started their pre-camps, to be able to be there for the whole of it, if we could. And thankfully, we're in a spot where we feel we can let them go with one, the health of our team, and two, the performances that some of the players have been putting on. We felt comfortable to enable them to be able to do that.
Okay, so that was a courtesy of the organization.
It was
A
a what?
courtesy,
Sorry.
a courtesy.
Yeah, we didn't have to do
Didn't
that,
have
but
to,
we
yeah.
we allowed that to happen. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And then everybody else is available to your.
Yeah, the just the long term Veronica and Ryan Brown are the
Yeah.
ones who still, and Cassie are still out. Yeah.
And then as far as with oh, sorry, Susie, go ahead.
No, go right ahead. I'll follow you.
Well, I just want game day tactics though against Utah. And yeah, what are going to be some of the keys that are being different than the Chicago match?
Yeah, I mean, this league's unforgiving. I've always said that, and I think Utah have been on the end of that. I think they're actually a good team. I think they're a very good team between the two 18-yard boxes. I'm sure the area that they want to get better at is being a little bit more ruthless in their own 18 and in the opponent's 18. And I've been there, we've been there where we've felt that too. And I think performance wise, it doesn't necessarily reflect where they are in the league and the points that they've been able to get. So I think if you don't respect them for who they are, they can play through you very easily. They have the players to be able to do that. And we felt that last year when we went there. You know, last year was a tough day for us when we went to Utah. We actually spoke about that this week to try and make sure that we put ourselves in a better spot than we did a year ago when we went out there, in regards to our performance and how we put ourselves up against them.
I was going to ask you, had an impact when bringing on Sam Meza and G at halftime, and I'm just wondering what goes through your head as a coach when you have so many options, and who do you want to be those game changers off the bench, and who do you want to be in the lineup from the beginning?
Well, I think we've been pretty consistent this year with one, if you play well, and your performances are better than somebody else's at that moment in time, you'll start. And also being consistent with, if we feel that in a certain game, a certain player will help beat an opponent, we feel, then that player will also play. And then lastly, that if you have been playing and starting and someone comes on and is performing better than you in that moment in time, then they may get the start the next game. Like, thankfully, we've been able to be pretty consistent with that this year. So I think that breeds natural competition, which honestly, as a coach, that's what you want. Like, yeah, it makes your decision making harder, but it also means that, you know, you're picking people at the height of their form, which hopefully means that they can put on a performance that is at the highest level ultimately. So yeah, I was really happy with G and Sam last week. I thought it was probably G's best 45 minutes she's played for the club. And maybe that was a reaction from maybe not getting more minutes than she'd wanted previously, which I'm fine with. Like, if we can get those performances out of G all the time, then that's really good for our team. So I think that's exactly what we want, is competition, and then them also believing that if they do train and play well, they'll get rewarded for that, that gives them the incentive to want to go out and do that.
I know you spoke about this at training earlier this week, but how does it feel as a coach to see Sam and Jordan get their first U.S. national team call up?
Yeah, just really happy, honestly, really proud, really happy. And, you know, you can just tell they were so excited. And it was actually weird how I found out. I walked back into after training and read an email from someone, and they'd seen their email before I'd seen the email that I was meant to see. So I think they'd done a thing with the team and their teammates before we as staff even knew. So it was nice. It was really nice. It was really authentic, and it wasn't like we, you know, stood up there and prepared something, which sometimes we've done previously, like we did with Claudia. You know, I think it was actually it wasn't captured, but it was actually really authentic and quite cool the way we were able to celebrate both of them.
Can you talk a little bit about Phoebe? You know, when you're talking about the competition, I mean, she seems like, well, she has started and been on that back line for you, you know, consistently. I think every game so far. So you know, what's really working for her this year?
Yeah, I think, you know, we know what you get with Phoebes. You know, I think last week she was disappointed with the goals we conceded. She is a true professional. She wants to get better. She's accountable too. You know, she wants to make sure that if she does make any form of what she perceives as mistake, that she can rectify that and get better for the next time she's asked to do that. And I think that growth is what you're seeing in her game. And yeah, she's, you know, a leader back there. She has experience. You know, she's been with us a long time now. So she's able to impart that onto some of the younger players, which is great.
And then, just out of curiosity, have you watched or been interested at all in any of the Club World Cup matches? You know, especially on the Sounders side.
Yeah, I went to the game yesterday. It was great. It was fun. I thought they obviously, I'm sure they're disappointed with the result, but I think knowing the tradition and history and who Atletico Madrid are as a team, I think the Sounders pushed them all the way. I think Atletico really had to step up and produce a performance to get, after their disappointing result against PSG. And then, PSG getting a shock defeat against Botafogo, I think it set the group up nicely. And, I think what everyone would have hoped for the Club World Cup is that we could put global football on the local eye here in Seattle, but then also flip that, like let global talent see what Seattle has to offer. And I think the Sounders doing a great job.
You mentioned Utah being a difficult place to play last year, and obviously you have experience in Utah as well.
Mm-hmm.
But does playing at altitude change how you prepare and think about preparation coming into this match?
Absolutely. Me and Scott were telling the team the other day, when we were there, if teams came in 2 days before the game, we were always quietly confident that we'd be able to beat them, because the 48-hour rule of like the altitude really hits you on that third day. Hence why we're currently in Seattle and we'll be flying to Utah later today. So that's the key, to make the altitude not feel as bad is to be there as least amount of time as possible, which we're pushing literally to the closest time we can to get there. So it is hard. I think if you look at the temperatures from this week, thankfully, fingers crossed, it's supposed to drop a little bit tomorrow. And the hard part of that is there's no humidity. So the wet bulb marker won't get anywhere near water breaks and all that type of stuff, because there's just no humidity at all. It's so dry. But, the sun can be very, very strong out there. So we've prepared for it as best we can. And that's sort of been, the science will tell you, get there as late as possible and leave as quick as possible. And we are sitting in that scientific world.
Hi, good morning, Maddie. I wanted to ask Jade Evans with the Seattle Times. I wanted to ask you've on the field, you've looked very comfortable almost immediately. Just 1 second, sorry. Dad calling. Yeah, so you've looked very comfortable on the field almost immediately, and I wanted to know how you were able to make that happen, or if that's even the way you feel.
Yeah, I definitely feel comfortable. I think that's a good way to describe it, but I think that's just a credit to my teammates and the coaching staff, instilling that belief and confidence in me. And I think they do a really good job of letting us know the game plan before the game, and so that just helps me going into the game and knowing what I need to execute.
Hi, Maddie. Susie
Hi.
at Thunder Art. Wondering, obviously, Utah isn't getting the results they want right now, but still a very dangerous team, and what the team's kind of focus has been on leading up to this game and limiting the threats that Utah possesses.
Yeah, I think we're going into this game really wanting to going to the break with 3 points, and I think Utah has a ton of offensive threats, and I think for us, it's just executing on our game plan, but also just going into every game with the same mentality. I think obviously the Chicago game, we started a little slow, and so I think for us, just starting on the front foot and really capitalizing on some of our opportunities early will be really important. But I think it's a really good opportunity to show that we can put forth a full 90 minutes.
And I wanted to ask you, you've been obviously experienced playing both wingback and further up the field in college and youth national team system, and now also for the Reign. And what has the kind of switch been like for you going in between the two positions, and just how has the team and the coaching staff really set you up for being successful in both roles?
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, but I think, like I said earlier, the coaching staff make it really easy, going over film with me and doing extra things off the field to just make me feel more comfortable. But I think having some familiarity with that position at UNC was really helpful coming in to the rain. And then obviously the league, with the offensive threats within the league, it's definitely, I have to pay more attention to details. So that's been a little more challenging, but I think overall, like, the people behind me make it really easy with communication. And then for a while I had Lou Barnes to my right, and just having that veteran experience behind me was really helpful.
Andy, you guys had to come back against Chicago, and that's another team that's not at the high of the table. Did they? Oh, there, sorry. Did that was that a little bit maybe of a wake-up call of how to respect a team that may not have the record, but, can still give you guys problems, and Utah could be a similar situation?
Yeah, I think we talk about it all the time, like respecting every opponent the same. And I think it was definitely a wake up call for us, but I think it was just a moment that we showed grit and resilience. And sometimes the ball's not going to bounce our way and mistakes are going to be made. So, how do we react as a team? And I thought we did a really good job of reacting in the second half.
Anything else for Maddie?
I have one more while I'm here. You obviously got to play with Jordan in the U20 World Cup, and have played with Sam in college. Just wondering from your perspective what it's like to see them get senior national team call-up.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I'm really happy for them. They're both extremely hard workers and have had amazing seasons. So to see them get the recognition that they deserve is really fun. And I'm excited to see them play. I think they have lots to prove, and I think they'll bring a lot to that team. And it's just, I'm really excited for them. And especially Jordan, I went to the World Cup with her, and to see her evolve, and then also Sam, like, just her journey the past year has been so cool, and I'm just really excited for them.